Willy Adames is a potential trade target for the Toronto Blue Jays, and it makes sense as the Milwaukee Brewers are looking to shed payroll. Having just traded away Corbin Burns, it may be a full fire sale over there. So we'll break that down and much more in this episode of Jays Digest. What's up, Jays fans? I'm your host, Peter Vryonis, alongside host Nick Gosse. Now, there's been a lot of talk about the third base position for the Toronto Blue Jays. Who's gonna line up there every day? Is it going to be Isaiah Kiner-Falefa in an everyday role? Is it going to be Matt Chapman, who was brought back on a lengthy free agent deal, or is it going to be through the trade market? Now, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa and Matt Chapman have been the two options that fans have been weighing, but we haven't heard much about Willy Adames lately, and we haven't really heard much about him at all this offseason. Although I think he would probably be the best option of the three to fill that third base position for the Blue Jays. But Nick, he's a very exciting player. He's got some serious pop, and he's a fantastic defender, whether you put him at shortstop or at third base, and he's got a cannon of an arm as well. So he would fit in nicely with this Blue Jays team.
Yeah, and following Corbin Burns being traded, reports have just dropped a couple days ago or yesterday by Bob Nightingale. Before we get to that, a quick reminder, hit the subscribe button. About 70% of you aren't subscribed. We're close to our goal of 13 or 12,000 subscribers. So make sure to hit that button, and let's get right into the video. Now, Peter, this is very interesting. We have some interesting things to discuss today. Let's get right into the report here. So the Brewers are telling opposing teams that shortstop Willy Adames is available via trade per Bob Nightingale, but he is a free agent after the 2024 season. And this kind of stemmed way back when Corbin Burns, well, not way back, it wasn't that long ago at all. Last week when Corbin Burns was traded to the Baltimore Orioles, it kind of signified that they're not really going to win right now. They want to sell off the players that they think maybe will be leaving in the future. And then Ben Nicholson-Smith and a bunch of little rumblings have happened about Willy Adames. You can even look back to a report back in October where Blue Jays Insider offers an alternate solution to replace Matt Chapman at third base for this offseason. And now, obviously, that probably won't be, I don't know if you play him at third. I mean, you could definitely play him at third as an elite defender, but the thing now, Peter, is would you like this? I think this would be phenomenal. The question is, will the Jays be willing to give up what it takes to get Adames pending the fact that he is a free agent after this season?
Well, look what the Baltimore Orioles had to give up just to get Corbin Burns. They gave up DL Hall, who's a solid left-handed pitcher, but not one of their top prospects, and Joey Ortiz as well, who is one of their top prospects. But Corbin Burns is a different caliber player than Willy Adames is. So I'm sure you can figure out a way to get Adames into town without having given up Ricky Tiedemann. And I don't know if the Brewers or the Brewers fans would be super excited about that proposition, but he is an expiring deal, and I don't think he'll cost as much as people are making it out to be. He's a very good player. He's had 30 home run seasons. Obviously, he was shipped out of town from Tampa Bay when Wander Franco was coming up, and I'm sure they wish they kept him now, the way that situation is unfolded over there. But Willy Adames has been a very good big leaguer for a long time here, and he's an impending free agent. You don't have to commit to him beyond this year if you don't want to, if you're the Blue Jays. So, yeah, it makes total sense. And he is a shortstop. He is a natural shortstop, probably a better defensive shortstop than Bo Bichette is. But he would still be playing third base every day for the Blue Jays if he were brought over here. But this makes their team infinitely better if they can go out and acquire him. And I think they can do it at a reasonable price without parting ways with Ricky Tiedemann.
Chris Black did a full in-depth Twitter thread. Feel free to go check it out. And he basically, this was a couple days ago, he said, listen, the Jays might be done. Their next ads might come in July, but adding Adames, who for the record has 1,100 career OPS at the Rogers Center, would be a home run. If you look at the shortstop WAR, Peter, he, since 2020, is only 2 WAR less than Bo Bichette. He has been that good. Obviously, he's been on a Milwaukee Brewers team, so a lot of fans out there might not be as familiar with him. Now, Chris Black in this case, offers a potential trade. You can see at the bottom there of Espinal, Horwitz, and a low-level prospect. Now, I don't know if I think it would take a bit more than that, but I'm going to throw out the perspective here, and I think a chance, if an Adames trade goes down, it will definitely be centered around Santiago Espinal plus a prospect. Now, I don't know if the Brewers would do Horwitz, who's kind of a 4A player. He's nothing too special. But, Peter, I'll ask you this, and I've seen this floating around. Maybe a package around Espinal and Brandon Barriera plus maybe a later, the 25th ranked prospect in the Jays system or something. Is that something you'd be willing to do? So it's a top 5 prospect in the Jays system, plus Espinal, of course, who would go the Brewers' way where he can get everyday playing time and hope to figure out something there for Willy Adames, who could be a free agent and leave the Jays after next season.
Yeah, I would do any prospect that isn't Ricky Tiedemann or Elvis Martinez. That's what I would be comfortable with if I'm the Toronto Blue Jays. So yeah, I would stay the course. I would be very firm in my negotiations, and as you see in the Chris Black tweet over there, and find a way to see if Devin Williams
Yeah.
is available as well. Who's one of the more dominant relievers in Major League Baseball, converted to a closer last year when they got rid of Josh Hader. So if you can get those two guys, I mean, that's just fantastic. I don't know how likely it is. I don't know how in the Jays are in these conversations, but they gotta be in on them somehow because that's a huge upgrade at third base that won't cost you one of your top prospects. So you definitely have to poke your head in and see what you can do and to go ahead and acquire this guy because he makes your team significantly better. Now I know they've invested money in IKF, they've signed him to a 2-year deal, but he's not an everyday player, at least not at third base, and he's shown that with the Yankees over the past few years. He's not a great hitter. He's not even a good hitter. He's not even an average hitter. He's not someone that you want in your lineup all the time. And it's not like we're not joking here,
No,
Nick.
you're
He's a
not. No.
below average hitter. He's a below average hitter. Let's call it what he is. He does a lot of things well out there. He runs the bases. He plays great defense wherever you put him, but he's not a major league caliber hitter, at least not on an everyday basis. So you got to find someone that is, and Willy Adames is going to do whatever IKF is doing on the defensive end, plus an above average bat. So you could sign me up for that.
Yeah, Adames' defense is very, very good, like 99th percentile good. One of the best defenders. I mean, I'm a bit surprised at the lack of trades the Toronto Blue Jays have been linked to, I mean, they obviously haven't made a trade, or at least any major trades this offseason. And in a free agency class, we discussed it way back in October when they got eliminated by the Twins. We thought they were going to make a big trade because of how weak the free agency class was, and that was before all the Ohtani stuff. But now they haven't really done anything. And now that you see a player of his caliber being willing to be traded and that he is available via trade, I don't really care that they signed IKF or that they signed all these guys. They have all these players. Just go out and try to get it done. We saw the Orioles. They traded for Corbin Burns. Whether or not the Blue Jays could have and should have matched that package is up to you to decide. But I want to see them make another move, and I think this would change a lot of Blue Jays fans' perspective on this offseason. I see a lot of people grading their offseason. We might have a video coming up grading some of the moves they've made, but even though there hasn't been many. But Peter, this would take their offseason to a pretty big level for me, not only because of just his impact in general, but this would also make IKF a much more valuable player because he doesn't have to play every day and can slide into different roles rather than forcing him into
Yeah.
a role that he, not that he say he's not comfortable with because he did play every day for the Yankees, but one that maybe a World Series team would not have him on. So any final thoughts on that before we wrap up? Because give me Barriera, Espinal, and really any prospect aside from Tiedemann and maybe a couple of the younger guys like Namala, for example, but most of them, and Elvis, but most of them are available.
Yeah. Well, let's look at the Orioles. They didn't need to get Corbin Burns because the rotation was solid last year, and they could have just gotten an okay pitcher. They could have gotten a middle of the road starting pitcher, and they would have been fine. That would have been a decent offseason for them because they won 100 games last year. But no, they went for it all. They went for the big fish on the market. Corbin Burns was the best pitcher available. Maybe you could say Blake Snell is, or Yamamoto was when he got signed, but they went for arguably the best pitcher on the market that was available, and they got him. They got their guy no matter what. They gave up a couple of solid players, solid young players that would have contributed at the big league level this year. But they didn't care because they thought that the time was now and they wanted to improve their major league club immediately. The Blue Jays need to do the same thing. I know that you want to hang on to assets and you want to have a future down the line, but all these teams in your division are getting better. The Orioles and the Yankees, which are two teams that you're going to be chasing this year, they got better over the offseason. You didn't. So go out and make the subsequent moves to get better. And that's how you'll be able to compete with them. Because right now, on paper, the Blue Jays may not be able to compete with those two teams. And that spells another early playoff exit because the wild card has not been friendly to the Blue Jays in the past few years. And they got to try to win that division, and they're not doing that right now.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But the bright side is there's still off season left, and maybe they'll make a subsequent move like this to match up with what I mean. The Orioles, the Yankees, they both of them have made huge trades, Soto and Corbin Burns. So it's the Jays' time now. But that'll wrap it up. Let us know in the comments what your thoughts are. If you want to see our video from yesterday, click on your screen now. We'll see you tomorrow.